Want to rise above what holds you back? These are the stories of those fighting that battle. It might also be the story of you. I'm Dan Waldschmidt, author of Edgy Conversations and strategist of billion-dollar companies all over the world. This is Mark Menard, author of The Story of You, the guy who knows a thing or two about never giving up. You're listening to Elevating Beyond. Let's get started.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Elevating Beyond with a two-word mission statement: change lives. And today I am here with the one and only Chris Hogan. And I've been talking about this actually just lately. I've done a few posts. I just got to read his full book, Everyday Millionaires, which we're going to be diving into. I've had the pleasure of knowing Chris for years. I actually met Chris years ago, about I think 6 years ago now, at Entree Leadership. And so just to give everyone a quick little background, and we'll get more into it as we share your whole story, Chris, but Chris has worked on Dave Ramsey's team for years. I met him on the whole leadership side of things. Before that, Chris played college football. If you hear his voice and you can see him, you can see he's a big dude. Gets all into leadership, worked at the bank for years. So you can see where the whole background of the finances and everything ties together. And then I know, like myself, he's worked with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of business owners of all different sizes. And then just came out with this amazing book, Everyday Millionaires, which I'll have propped up here nicely on camera. If you can't see it on audio, we'll have the link. But this book, Chris, from what I'm seeing, is you and Dave Ramsey were saying this is actually one of the largest studies ever conducted on millionaires. Well, first of all, how are you doing, my good man?
I'm doing well, my friend. I'm actually out on the road on book tour, going around the country, letting people know the truth about millionaires, you know, what it takes to become one and how they can do it. So I'm having a lot of fun running around, doing media, book signings, and meeting a lot of good people all across this country.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been watching Chris behind the scenes, and we can have his info posted. You can actually catch him. He's been grinding. People put books out and they think it's easy. I was just talking to another good friend of mine on the show, and I was like, before this, I was checking out where you were. You were just with my good man, Daryl Lyons, who we've been good friends with, doing an event. And I've been watching you speak because I did it with mine at the different Barnes and Nobles, and it's an adventure, but it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. You know, a lot of people think you put out a book and you just kind of wait, and that's not the case at all. You know, there's a lot of activity that goes into it prior to the release of the book, and as well as in the middle of it, and also after. And so anyway, when you have information you want people to have, you have to get out, you got to let them know about it. And so I'm excited, enjoying every minute of it. It has been a long few weeks, but still got some time to go and some good people to meet. So I'm excited.
I love it. And that's one of the things that I wanted to get into from your book, actually, about all the millionaires you studied. And you talked about the importance of hard work. But before we get to that, because this book, I'm telling you, everyone, I read this. Actually, his amazing assistant sent it to me. And I was able to catch up on it over the past week, went through the whole thing, and I'm pretty picky about the books that we have on our show. I've gotten better and better at doing that. And this is one, you really take it to a lot of different levels to kind of hit all different personalities. Like one thing that I really loved is you talk about belief. I saw that come through this book so much because I always talk so much about, for me, the importance of mindset and belief. And a lot of times when people are thinking about becoming a millionaire, they're thinking just about the accounting side and working with a CPA. But when you started diving right into the importance of belief, something like 97% of millionaires believe they control their own destiny. Can you talk about like some things that you discovered from that?
Well, it's really important. What you believe really begins to set the limits on what's possible for you. And we all can grow up in different areas with different family members, and family can impact your beliefs as well. But also the things that you see around you. As you start to see things around you, that's where you start to have more of an understanding. So I really jump in, Mark, in three areas with this. I think belief is important. You believing what's possible for you and what you can accomplish, I think is absolutely crucial. So that goes to the mindset you have. What are you telling yourself? It's one thing to hear things from other people and to get encouragement, or even maybe hearing people having certain limitations for what they think that you can do. But I tell people all the time, I accept compliments from anybody, but I don't accept limitations from no one. And so I think that's a big, strong statement for us to make sure that we're clear on what's possible for us. But the second part of it is knowledge. I think us making sure to grow our knowledge is crucial. And that's understanding things. For me, it's, looking at money. Having dealt with it for over 20 years, still growing in my own knowledge of how do these things work? The different investing vehicles, how to get better at budgeting, understanding about debt. So knowledge is the second big one. The one is our personal daily habits, our actions, right? Those things are what we can accomplish for ourselves. I tell people, I'll accept compliments from anyone, but I don't accept limitations from nobody. And I think that's an important thing for us to be aware of, that you can hear certain things from people, but it doesn't mean that it has to apply to your life. We have to be very aware. And so I think it's important for us to obviously control our beliefs, but to also grow our knowledge. How are we handling things? There are all kinds of podcasts and free information out there for us to be growing, especially in all areas related to money, dealing with investing, understanding budgeting, and really plugging in and doing these things consistently over time. So we have belief, we have knowledge, and the final one is your actions, the things that you're doing. Are you making your audio match your video? Meaning that are the words you speak and the dreams you're talking about, are actions backing those things up? And if you put yourself on that pace, you'll start to make some progress each and every day.
I like that. Are you making your audio match the video? Because that actually is relevant to what's going on right here. But it's like, your actions speak louder than words. Absolutely. And a huge thing you're talking there too, Chris, is you're saying, I keep hearing this, over time. Because a great thing about what we live in now is there's a lot of knowledge available, which you mentioned. You can listen to podcasts, you can get on YouTube. But with that, it doesn't always mean it's the right knowledge. And there's a lot of things out there and that are selling these courses and stuff, and I have courses I sell, but when it's the right ones, but there's a lot of them giving people false information, and this is what drives me to do shows like this and stuff, because I have a business. That's what really motivated me, was to help share the real story behind the story all the time. And the wrong knowledge is telling people it doesn't take time. Buy my course and become a millionaire, or make six figures in 90 days or less, or in 1 year you'll be a millionaire if you blah 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 blah. And what I love about what you're saying is you don't sugarcoat it. You're saying these are facts. You can become a millionaire, and you talk about from all different levels, from teachers to business owners. It's not about even actually the income that they make, which we can get into.
No, you're right. And that was, inside of this book, we knock out and bust 6 myths. And I really think it's important for us to make sure that we're uncovering that so people can understand, so they can stop putting, the limits they think in their head. For example, a lot of people believe that millionaires, wealthy people, inherited all their money. This is a thing that people believe. And I can remember growing up in Kentucky, kind of believing that myself. But digging into this and having done the largest research study that's ever been done, we talked to over 10,000 millionaires across the country. The truth is 79% of these millionaires didn't inherit a dime, not one dime. And so if you believe that the only way you can build wealth is through an inheritance, well, that's called false. That's not the truth at all. You can do this over time if you're focused and consistent. Another myth is people think that you have to have a high-paying job. Now, this is one that I hear a lot, right? When you talk about millionaires, people think, oh, this is someone making $1 million a year. No, not at all.
Yeah.
In fact, a third of these millionaires never made a six-figure household income in a single working year.
Wow.
Now, Mark, let's think about this for a second. We're talking about dual income families, right? They never made six figures a working year. So what that's telling people is that you can make below 100,000, you can make below 75,000, but your consistent efforts, your intentionality in the process can put you on a path to become a millionaire over time.
You know, and that's what I love. And this book shares the true ways to get there. It shares the actual on all different levels. Like you're saying, it's not just one of those books you get that just kind of leads you only to something else. Like you really dive into all these different case studies, testimonials, which gives the motivation, but then you also get into the teaching part of it. And that was something that I love to hear, that a lot of people think that, I mean, I've met a lot of millionaires, and look, I was there at a point in time in my company where I made it, where our net worth was $1 million, but there was also at that same time, I realized that on another level, I was starting to get in debt that was making it very dangerous, and I wasn't sleeping that well at night. So like these principles that you talk about in this book, it wasn't out at that time, but I plus there's even more in here because you've done more in the study, but I personally live most of these out and in proof that there's proven and true. I mean, it helps you sleep better at night too, to know that you can have these things set up, and it takes time, and it goes into something else that I love. Before we get into partnerships, is what we were kind of talking about at the beginning of the show, is hard work. You talk about it. It flat out comes down to, it's not from the inheritance for the most part. People don't magically inherit it, as you know, Chris. Most business owners, or everyone, teachers, they're working. It's through their blood, sweat, and tears over time. But what I love is you go into the book and you talk about how can you actually better yourself through hard work? And you have some stories like, so yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, hard work is essential. You know, I think in our culture today, we want things to come quick and we want things to come easy. That's why these get-rich-quick schemes, you know, they make my blood boil. Because what they're doing is they're peddling this false narrative to people that makes you think that it can just happen quickly. And hard work is necessary. You know, I've never met anyone that's successful that just, it happened overnight. You know, I'm a former football player, and so, you know, the weights we lifted in the off season, the running that we did, the training, and then the practices that we did, all of that was preparation for game time, for us to be able to, and that's what I want people to see with this book, that you being focused, you being intentional and starting to budget, right? I mean, and living on less than you make. 94% of these millionaires live on less than they make each year, right? That's not an accident. That's called being intentional. And so setting that aside, and then don't get me started on investing, all right? This is crucial. The number one reason these millionaires said they were able to get millionaire status was from dealing with employer-sponsored retirement plans. We're talking about 401ks, 403bs, Roth IRAs. And so this is an amazing opportunity for us to put money aside. And for people that are business owners themselves, you have opportunity to invest as well. Whether you're talking about a solo 401k, a SEP, self-employed pension plan, you've got ways that you can invest. So we've got to put money aside to give it time to grow.
Yeah, as a business owner, I had a 401k and switched it to a simple IRA for myself and for everyone on my team. I'm whatever is going to work best for everyone, and you get more into it in your book. But I was able to match a higher percentage, but then also as the owner, I'm able to invest the highest amount, and I just have it the way it works for me, I have it taken out of my checks. I know it's going there. I don't see it. I'm not tempted to spend it. And I just started that, Chris, I think probably 3 years ago. Before I was kind of just doing the minimum and stuff. But then I really realized to go all in, to cap it out, to move everything. And just over the 3 years, like how much from investing the higher amounts, it's amazing how much I already, you would believe it, but how much is in there? You know what I mean?
And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because to me, this book really boils down to a few areas. It's about being intentional and being consistent, really. I mean, that's the background story of all these millionaires. But you hit on something. As you're putting money away for your future, you're not doing this 1 month and waiting 4 months and doing it again. It's best to get it signed up to where it automatically happens, where it's taken out of your check, you know exactly where it's going, but not to spend it. You know, that's not a home down payment. That's not money for a wedding. No, this is money for your future. This is money for your dreams. And so I want to encourage, the people watching and listening to you to definitely plug into that. Get started right now. Time and compound interest are the best ways to grow your money. And so we can't wait on somebody to save the day for us. The days of pension are gone. That's where companies would put aside money for you. We've got to take control of our financial future for ourselves, which means we've got to start to make some decisions. And I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, right? Because when you're trying to create margin in your budget, you've got to say no to some things. And I think that's one of our problems in our culture. We want to say yes to everything, but no, we have to say no. I love football, you know this, having played it, but I heard one of the coaches at a press conference make a statement, and I wrote it down immediately. He said, what we have to do is starve our distractions so we can feed our focus.
That's right.
Right? Starve our distractions so we can feed our focus. And I think that's so important for us in this culture, where we have all these commercials and all these things going on that make us feel bad about what we have or what we don't have.
Yes.
And that's okay. Don't be distracted. Stay focused, because at the end of it, it's worthwhile. But if we get distracted, then you end up being delayed. You end up settling for something less than what you could have had you focused a little bit longer.
I've had 3 different NFL players even on this show alone, and all of them have the same, it goes back, like you were saying, with the beliefs and all this and the hard work, because I would look at it and think, oh, they were just born with all the talent, born with all, like even Kobe Bryant, for example, he started working out harder in middle school and high school even than anyone else was. And all the NFL players I had on my show, they were the ones that after everyone else went home after practice, they went back and did 2.5 more hours in the weight room that wasn't required of them, but that's what it took, like you said, to get to that. It was like that season of sacrifice. And I've been on the other level of it, Chris, too, where I remember with my company, I took my family on a cruise and we were doing well financially, but I didn't have the savings and the stuff built up, and I was still in that even credit card type mindset and belief system. And I'll never forget it. Like the perfect storm hit. We were on the cruise. I funds that were supposed to come in for my business didn't come in. So I'm like having this anxiety attack. I'm not enjoying it with my family. I'm trying to find Wi-Fi in there. I'm moving money from bank to bank, making sure my team's getting paid. And my credit card was maxing out. And I remember I left that cruise. It was like 7 years ago. And I was just like, never, ever again am I going to be in that situation, because paradise isn't paradise if you're broke. It's the truth. It's stressful. Now, we have 5 kids. We went to Africa. My wife's from Sierra Leone with all 5 of them. This time around, I had $20,000 in cash saved up, because that's how much it cost for the whole trip. It sounds crazy. For all 5 of our tickets, we went there for a full month. That's the longest I ever took off. No credit. And I started working on this about 2 years prior to that. And I just remember, and it was right around Christmas and the holidays when everything's costing the most. And I just remember having it ahead of time and just that feeling of like, I can actually enjoy this vacation too, because I'm not stressing out about charging more on my credit card and do I have it available. But going back to your point and what you teach in your book from all these studies, it's putting that hard work in and learning these different systems that you teach and applying them over time.
No, it really does. And what you walk through during it, of feeling that stress and that anxiety, what you did was, Mark, you made that wisdom, meaning you learned from it and you grew from it. You knew that was your defining moment where you said, I wasn't going to deal with that anymore. And I think a lot of people out there, studies show 80% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. And so, if one check doesn't show up, now they have that same anxiety, that same issue. But what you did was you decided.